Amara sat in her big bedroom, looking at the golden mirror her father bought from Dubai. She was the richest girl in all of Lagos. But her heart felt empty, like a broken calabash. Her father, Chief Okafor, owned oil wells and banks across Nigeria. People called him the King of Money. The mansion they lived in had 20 rooms and a swimming pool, bigger than most people's houses. Expensive cars filled the garage, and servants moved quietly through marble hallways. But none of these things made Amara smile anymore. She spent her days staring out at the beautiful gardens, wondering why she felt so alone in a house full of people. "Amara, come down for breakfast," her father shouted from downstairs. She walked down the marble stairs in her expensive dress from London. The dining table was long enough for 20 people, but only 3 chairs were used. The silence in the big dining room felt heavy, like storm clouds before rain. Her father, Chief Okafor, sat reading business newspapers while eating imported fruits. Her stepmother, Ngozi, was already eating and reading fashion magazines about rich women in Europe and America. Nobody talked during meals unless it was about money or social events with other wealthy families. Amara remembered when she was little and her real mother was alive, they used to laugh and tell stories during breakfast, but those happy days felt like dreams now. "Good morning, Papa," Amara said, sitting down. Her stepmother, Ngozi, looked up from her magazine and gave a cold smile that never reached her eyes. The servants brought plates of food that cost more than most families spent in a whole month. Everything looked perfect and expensive, but tasted like nothing to Amara. She picked at her food while watching her father count money from his briefcase. This was how every morning started in the Okafor house, with beautiful things, but no real happiness. "Today, we go to pick your husband," Chief Okafor said, cutting his meat with a golden knife. "The Adebayo family is very rich. Their son Kemi just came back from America with a business degree. He will be perfect for you, and perfect for our family. Business. When you marry him, our 2 companies will become the biggest in all of West Africa. You will have everything any woman could want." Amara's heart jumped like a grasshopper. She had always known this day would come, but she was not ready. Marriage to her father meant joining 2 banks together, not joining 2 hearts together. "Papa, I don't want to marry yet. I am only 22, Amara said, trying to keep her voice steady. She looked at her stepmother, hoping for support, but Ngozi was already shaking her head. The thought of marrying a stranger made Amara's stomach feel sick. She had dreams of traveling the world and maybe starting her own business or helping poor children, but her father only saw her as a way to make more money. "Nonsense," Ngozi said, without looking up from her magazine. "At your age, I was already married with 2 children. Rich families must stay together. Poor people can marry for love because they have nothing to lose. But when you have money, you must be smart about marriage. Love is for poor people who have no choice. You have everything. So you must choose wisely, not foolishly." Her voice was sharp like broken glass, and her words cut deep into Amara's heart. Chief Okafor nodded his head strongly. "Ngozi is right. You will meet Kemi tonight at the grand party. Wear your best jewelry and that blue dress from Paris. Smile and be charming, like I taught you. The Adebayo family will bring their lawyers, and we will discuss the wedding contract. Everything is already planned. The wedding will be in 6 months at the biggest church in Lagos. All the important people in Nigeria will be there." He spoke like he was planning a business meeting, not his daughter's wedding. Amara felt tears coming, but she held them back because crying at the breakfast table would make her father angry. She ran upstairs to her room and threw herself on her bed crying, like rain in the rainy season. Her big, beautiful room with its golden furniture and silk curtains felt like a prison. She looked at all her expensive clothes and jewelry and realized none of it made her happy. She felt trapped, like a bird in a golden cage. Outside her window, she could see the busy streets of Lagos, where normal people lived normal lives, and she wondered if they were happier than she was. A soft knock came at her door like gentle raindrops on the roof. "Come in," Amara said, wiping her eyes with a tissue made of the finest cotton. She tried to compose herself because even when she was sad, she had been taught to look perfect for other people. Folek entered, carrying a tray of fresh fruit cut into beautiful shapes. She was 25 years old, with kind eyes that sparkled like stars, and a gentle smile that could make anyone feel better. She had worked as a maid in the Okafor house for 3 years, but she was different from the other servants. While others were afraid to look directly at the family, Folek always treated everyone with respect and kindness. Her uniform was simple but clean, and her hair was braided in traditional Nigerian styles. She moved with grace and dignity, even though she was just a maid. Amara had always noticed how beautiful Folek was, both outside and inside. "Madam Amara, are you okay?" Folek asked, setting down the tray on the marble table beside Amara's bed. Her voice was soft and caring, like a mother talking to a hurt child. Even though she was a servant, Folek always spoke to Amara like she was a real person, not just a rich man's daughter. This was one reason why Amara felt comfortable around her when she felt uncomfortable around everyone else. "No, Folek, I am not okay." Amara sat up on her bed and looked into Folek's concerned eyes. "Papa wants me to marry a stranger tonight. I have never even talked to this man, but Papa already planned our whole wedding. I feel like I am not a person to him, just a business deal he wants to make." Her voice broke as she spoke and tears started falling again despite her efforts to be strong. Folek sat on the floor beside the bed, like she always did when Amara was sad. In the Okafor house, servants were not supposed to sit on furniture, but Folek had been doing this for 3 years, and Amara had never told anyone. It was their special friendship that nobody else knew about. "Tell me what happened," Folek said, in her gentle way that always made problems seem smaller. Her presence in the room made the air feel warmer and more peaceful. Amara told Folek everything about the breakfast conversation and the arranged marriage, and how trapped she felt in her rich life. As she talked, she felt better because Folek listened with her whole heart. She never interrupted or gave quick advice like other people did. She just listened and understood. While Amara talked, Folek's face showed real concern and sympathy. It felt good to have someone who cared about her feelings, not just her father's business plans. When Amara finished talking, the room felt lighter, as if sharing the problem had made it smaller. "My grandmother used to say that marriage should be like 2 hands washing each other," Folek said, with wisdom in her voice. "Both people should choose each other with love, not money. When 2 people love each other, they help each other become better. But when people marry for money, they become like strangers living in the same house. Real marriage is when 2 hearts become 1 heart." Her words were simple, but they held more truth than all the business advice Amara had ever heard from her father and his rich friends. "But Papa will be angry if I say no," Amara whispered, looking scared. "He might throw me out of the house or cut off all my money. Then what would I do? I have never worked or lived without servants. I don't even know how to cook food or wash clothes. How can someone like me survive in the real world?" The thought of losing everything she had ever known terrified her, but the thought of marrying without love terrified her even more. "Sometimes we must be brave to find happiness." Folek smiled with encouragement shining in her eyes. "Even when we are afraid, my grandmother also used to say that courage is not about not being scared. Courage is about doing what is right even when you are scared." "You have a good heart, Madam Amara. Your heart knows what is right for you. Maybe you should listen to your heart instead of other people's plans." Her words planted a seed of hope in Amara's troubled mind. That evening, the Okafor mansion was full of rich people wearing expensive clothes and gold jewelry that sparkled under crystal chandeliers. Musicians played traditional drums and flutes, while dancers in colorful costumes entertained the guests. The air smelled of jollof rice and pepper soup, and other Nigerian foods prepared by the best cooks in Lagos. Servants moved between guests, carrying trays of wine and champagne. Everything looked perfect and expensive, like always, but Amara felt like she was watching everything from far away. She stood in her blue dress from Paris, wearing her grandmother's diamond necklace, but inside, she felt empty and fake. Kemi Adebayo arrived in a white Bentley car with his parents and their lawyers. He was tall and handsome, with expensive clothes and a gold watch, but his eyes were cold like ice water. When he looked at Amara, it felt like he was examining a cow. At the market, not meeting his future wife, he shook hands with Chief Okafor like they were making a business deal, and barely looked at Amara during their introduction. Everything about him seemed calculated and cold, like he had practiced this meeting many times before. "You look beautiful, Kemi," said, taking her hand, but his voice had no warmth in it. His hand felt cold, and his smile looked fake, like he was acting in a play. When he talked to her father, his voice became animated and excited, but when he looked at Amara, his eyes became distant again. It was clear that he was more interested in her father's money than in her as a person. This made Amara feel even more like a business transaction than a bride. "Thank you," Amara replied, but inside she felt scared and disgusted. She tried to smile, but it felt like wearing a mask. As the evening continued, Kemi talked only about money and business deals and how much profit they could make together. He never asked about her interests or dreams or what made her happy. He treated her like a beautiful object that came with her father's business empire. During dinner, Kemi continued talking about his plans for their future, but they were really his plans for her father's money. "When we marry, I will manage your father's oil business in America. We will make millions of dollars every year. I have already talked to investors in New York and London. Your father and I will be the richest men in Africa." He spoke with excitement about money, but never mentioned love or happiness or building a family together. Amara realized that to him, she was just part of a business deal, not a woman he wanted to spend his life with. Amara looked across the room and saw Folake serving food to guests with her usual grace and kindness. Even in her simple servant's uniform, Folake looked more beautiful to Amara than all the rich women in their expensive dresses. Their eyes met across the crowded room, and Folake gave her an encouraging smile that made Amara's heart feel lighter. In that moment, Amara realized something important about herself and about what she really wanted from life. "Excuse me," Amara stood up from the dinner table. "I need fresh air," she said, trying to escape from Kemi's boring talk about money and business deals. She walked quickly through the crowd of guests who were all talking about the same things, money and social status, and who owned what expensive things. None of them seemed truly happy, despite having everything money could buy. She walked to the garden where her mother's favorite flowers still grew in neat rows tended by careful gardeners. Her real mother had died when she was 10 years old from a sickness that all her father's money could not cure. This garden was the only place where Amara still felt close to her mother's memory. Sometimes she still talked to the flowers, pretending her mother could hear her from heaven. The white roses her mother had planted were still blooming beautifully after all these years. "Mama, what should I do?" she whispered to the white roses while touching their soft petals. "I am so confused and scared. Papa wants me to marry a man who does not love me. My heart tells me this is wrong, but everyone says I should be grateful for such a rich husband. I wish you were here to help me know what is right." The flowers moved gently in the evening breeze, as if they were trying to answer her. "You should follow your heart," a voice said behind her, like an answer to her prayer. Amara turned around and saw Folake carrying a glass of cold water and wearing a concerned expression on her beautiful face. "I brought you water. You looked tired and stressed during dinner. I thought you might need something to drink," Folake said, holding out the glass with both hands. Even this simple act of kindness felt more caring than anything Kemi had done all evening. Folake had noticed her discomfort and taken time from her work to help her feel better. This was what real caring looked like. "Thank you," Folake. Amara took the glass, and their fingers touched briefly, sending a warm feeling through her body. "I wish I could be brave like you. You always know what to do, and you never seem afraid of anything or anyone." She drank the water gratefully and felt refreshed, not just in her body but in her spirit too. "Me, brave," Folake laughed with genuine amusement. "I am just a maid from a small village in Ogun State. I was so scared when I first came to Lagos. Everything was so big and fast and different from my village. I cried every night for months, missing my family and my simple life." Her honesty and humility made Amara see her in a new way, as someone who had overcome real challenges, not someone who had been given everything like herself. "You are the bravest person I know," Amara said with deep sincerity. "You left your village alone to work in the city so you could help your family. You send money to your sick mother every month even though you earn very little. You work hard every day without complaining, even when Ngiozi is mean to you and treats you badly. You treat everyone with kindness, even when they don't deserve it. That takes real courage." As she spoke these words, Amara realized how much she had been watching and admiring Folake without even knowing it. Folake's eyes became wet with tears at these unexpected words of appreciation. "You notice all that about me," she said, with surprise and gratitude. "Most people look at me and just see a servant. They don't see me as a real person with feelings and dreams. But you have always been different. You treat me like I matter, like I am worth something." Her voice was full of emotion as she spoke these words. "I notice everything about you," Amara realized something important was happening in her heart, as she looked at Folake's beautiful face in the moonlight. "Folake, I think I love you," she said the words before she could stop herself. The confession hung in the garden air like the scent of jasmine flowers, beautiful but unexpected. The words hung in the air like morning mist over the Lagos lagoon. Both women stared at each other with surprise and wonder and fear, all mixed together. The party music and laughter from the house seemed far away now. It felt like they were the only two people in the world, standing among the white roses under the starry Nigerian sky. Time seemed to stop as they looked into each other's eyes and saw something beautiful and frightening and real. Madame Amara, you cannot love me, Folake stepped back with panic in her voice. "I am poor, and you are rich. I am a servant, and you are a master's daughter. Your family will never accept it. The whole world will laugh at you for loving a common maid. You will lose everything, your money, your family, your position in society. This kind of love is impossible in Nigeria, where rich people must marry rich people, and poor people must know their place." Fear filled her voice as she thought about all the problems their love could cause. "I don't care about money anymore." Amara took Folake's hands in hers and felt electricity run through her body. "You make me feel happy and peaceful like I never felt before. With you, I can be myself, not the perfect daughter my father wants me to be. When I talk to you, my heart feels light. When you smile at me, the whole world becomes brighter. I would rather be poor with you than rich and miserable with someone like Kemi." Her words came from the deepest part of her heart, where she kept her most honest feelings. Folake's eyes filled with tears of joy and fear mixed together. "I love you too, Amara. I have loved you for so long, but I never dared to hope you could love someone like me. Every day when I see you in your beautiful clothes, living your rich life, I dream about what it would be like if we could be together. But this is impossible. Your father will throw me out of this house and probably have me arrested. You will lose everything you have ever known. How can our love survive in a world that will hate us for it?" Her practical mind fought against her loving heart as she spoke. "Then we will build something new together," Amara said, with determination growing in her voice. "We will create our own world where love matters more than money. I am tired of living in a golden prison. I want to live a real life with real feelings, with someone who loves me for who I am inside, not for what my father owns." As she spoke these words, she felt braver and more certain than she had ever felt before. Just then, Chief Okafor appeared at the garden entrance like a dark storm cloud. His face was red with anger, and his eyes were blazing with fury. Behind him stood Kemi, and several of the party guests who had been looking for Amara. The peaceful moment in the garden was shattered like glass breaking on stone. The beautiful feeling between Amara and Folake was replaced by cold fear as they realized they had been discovered. "What is this nonsense?" he shouted loud enough for half of Lagos to hear. "Amara, get away from that maid right now. How dare you embarrass our family like this in front of our guests? What will people think when they see the great Chief Okafor's daughter holding hands with a servant? You are ruining everything I have worked for." His voice carried across the garden and into the house where the party guests could hear every angry word. "Papa, please listen to me. Amara stood in front of Folake to protect her from her father's anger. I can explain everything. This is not what you think. Well, it is what you think, but it is not wrong or bad. Folake and I love each other, and love is a beautiful thing, not something to be ashamed of. She tried to speak calmly, but her voice shook with fear and determination mixed together. There is nothing to listen to, and nothing to explain. Chief Okafor grabbed Amara's arm with enough force to leave bruises. Folake, pack your things and leave my house tonight. You are fired and banned from ever coming back. How dare you seduce my daughter with your witchcraft? You have corrupted her mind with your evil village magic. He pointed at Folake with hatred and disgust, as if she was something dirty he wanted to sweep away. No, Papa, please don't blame Folake, Amara begged, pulling against her father's grip. This is my choice, not hers. She never did anything wrong. I am the one who said I love her. Don't punish her for my feelings. If you want to be angry with me, not with her. Tears ran down her face as she tried to protect the woman she loved from her father's wrath. And you will marry Kemi next month, or I will cut off all your money and throw you out of this house forever. Chief Okafor announced his ultimatum with the coldness of a business deal. You will never see this maid again. If I find out you have contacted her, I will have her arrested for corrupting a minor even though you are 22. I have enough money and power to destroy her life completely. Choose now your family and your future, or this worthless servant girl. His words were like knives cutting through Amara's heart. Chief Okafor dragged Amara back to the party, while his bodyguards escorted Folake toward the house to pack her things. The guests pretended not to notice the drama, but Amara saw them, whispering behind their hands and pointing at her with curiosity and judgment. Kemi looked disgusted and embarrassed that his future bride had caused such a scandal. The perfect party had turned into a nightmare that everyone would remember and gossip about for years. The next morning, Folake was gone like a dream that disappears when you wake up. Amara ran to the servants' quarters as soon as the sun came up, but found only an empty room with bare walls and an unmade bed. Even the smell of Folake's perfume had faded away. Her heart broke into 1,000 pieces as she realized that the only person who had ever truly loved her was now gone forever. She fell to her knees on the concrete floor and cried until no more tears would come. For 3 weeks, Amara lived like a ghost in her father's house, moving through the marble halls like a shadow of her former self. She wore black clothes every day and barely ate enough food to keep a bird alive. Her beautiful face became thin and pale, and her eyes lost their sparkle. Ngozi tried to make her excited about wedding preparations, bringing fabric samples and jewelry catalogs, but Amara just stared at the wall like she could see through it to another world. The expensive wedding dress hung in her closet like a white monument to her misery. This nonsense must stop right now, Chief Okafor finally said when he could no longer ignore his daughter's suffering. You look like a skeleton, and people are starting to ask questions about your health. You will marry Kemi tomorrow, whether you like it or not. After the wedding, you will be his problem, and he can deal with your dramatic behavior. I am tired of your foolishness ruining my business reputation. His words showed no sympathy for his daughter's broken heart, only concern for his social standing. That night, Amara made a decision that would change her life forever and could not be undone. She packed a small bag with only necessary things, 1 change of clothes, some underwear, her toothbrush and her mother's photograph. She took off all her expensive jewelry, except her mother's simple gold necklace that had been her last gift before dying. She looked around her luxurious bedroom one last time, knowing she would probably never see it again. Everything looked beautiful and expensive, but none of it belonged to her heart. She wrote a letter to her father with shaking hands. Papa, I love you, but I cannot live a lie. I must find my own happiness, even if it means losing everything else. I hope someday you will understand that money cannot buy the things that matter most. Please forgive me one day when you realize that I chose love over gold, because love is the only treasure that lasts forever. She sealed the letter and left it on her pillow, where he would find it in the morning. Before dawn, when the night guards were sleeping and the servants had not yet started their work, Amara climbed out of her bedroom window like a thief stealing her own freedom. She walked away from the only life she had ever known, carrying nothing but hope and love in her heart. The streets of Victoria Island were quiet and empty in the early morning, and her footsteps echoed like drumbeats announcing her new life. She did not look back at her father's mansion because she knew that seeing it would make her lose courage. She searched for folklore in every corner of Lagos, like a detective following clues in a mystery story. She asked at markets and bus stations, and churches, and anywhere poor people might look for work. She showed folklore's photograph to hundreds of people, but most just shook their heads. Some people recognized her as Chief Okafor's daughter and asked why a rich girl was looking for a servant, but she ignored their questions. After days of searching, her feet were bleeding in her expensive shoes and her clothes were dirty from walking through poor neighborhoods, but she refused to give up. Finally, an old woman selling vegetables at Alaba Market looked at the photograph and smiled with recognition. "I know this girl," she said. "In Yoruba, she is working at a small restaurant in Mushin. The place is called Mama's Kitchen. She is a good girl, very hardworking and polite. She told me she lost her job working for a rich family, but she never said why. Are you her friend?" The old woman's words gave Amara the first hope she had felt in weeks. Amara took a Danfo bus to Mushin, feeling nervous and excited at the same time. The area was crowded and noisy, and very different from her quiet neighborhood in Victoria Island. Poor people filled the streets, selling goods from small stalls, and children played in dusty roads between cars and motorcycles. The smell of frying plantain and burning charcoal filled the air. Everything was alive and real, in a way that her rich neighborhood never was. She found the restaurant called Mama's Kitchen, and saw folklore through the window washing dishes with the same grace and dignity she had shown in the Okafor mansion. When folklore saw Amara through the restaurant window, she dropped a plate, and it crashed on the concrete floor, scattering pieces like broken dreams. Her face showed shock and joy and fear all at the same time. She ran outside wiping her wet hands. On her apron, unable to believe that Amara was really standing there looking tired and dirty, but more beautiful than ever. "Amara, what are you doing here?" folklore asked, touching Amara's face to make sure she was real. "You look terrible. What happened to you? Where are your nice clothes, and your car, and your bodyguards? Why are you in Mushin looking like you have been walking for days?" Her voice was full of concern and love as she examined Amara's appearance. "I came to find you," Amara smiled, even though she was tired and hungry, and had not slept properly in days. "I have been searching all over Lagos for weeks. I asked everyone if they had seen you. I was starting to think I would never find you, and then an old woman at the market told me you were here." Her voice was weak, but her eyes were shining with happiness at finally seeing folklore again. "Your father will be so angry when he finds out you left the house," folklore said, looking around nervously, as if Chief Okafor might appear at any moment. "With his bodyguards and police, he will blame me for this and have me thrown in jail. You should go back before someone sees you here and tells him where you are. This will only cause more trouble for both of us." Fear filled her voice as she thought about the consequences of their reunion. "I left his house forever." Amara showed her the small bag containing everything she now owned in the world. "I choose you over everything else, money, family, social position, everything. I would rather be poor and happy with you than rich and miserable without you. I broke off the engagement to Kemi and left a letter telling my father I am never coming back." Her words showed a determination that surprised both of them. Folklore started crying tears of joy and disbelief mixed together. "You gave up your money and family for me. You left your comfortable life to come and find me in this poor neighborhood. I cannot believe someone would sacrifice so much for love. What will we do now? I have no money, and you have never worked. How will we survive?" Her practical mind worried about their future, while her heart celebrated their reunion. "Love is worth more than money." Amara hugged folklore tightly, feeling complete for the first time in weeks. "We will find a way to build a new life together. My mother used to say that when two people truly love each other, they can overcome any problem. I believe that is true. We have each other, and that is more valuable than all my father's oil wells and banks." Her words came from a deep faith in the power of love to conquer all obstacles. The restaurant owner, Mama Tund, came outside to see what was causing the commotion in front of her establishment. She was a big woman with kind eyes and generous smile, who reminded Amara of her real mother before she died. Her presence radiated warmth and wisdom earned through years of caring for others. She wore a colorful wrapper and headscarf in traditional Nigerian style, and her face showed the lines of someone who had lived through many joys and sorrows. Folake, who is this fine girl standing in front of my restaurant looking like she has been walking through the desert? Mama Tund asked with curiosity and concern. She looks like she needs food and rest and medical attention. What is going on here, and why are both of you crying like someone died? Her motherly instincts were activated by the sight of two young women in obvious distress. This is Amara. Folake wiped her tears and tried to compose herself. The one I told you about. The girl I worked for in Victoria Island. The one whose father threw me out because he caught us together in the garden. She had confided in Mama Tund during her first weeks at the restaurant when she was heartbroken and needed someone to talk to. Ah, the rich man's daughter. Mama Tund nodded with understanding dawning in her eyes. So you finally came for our Folake. She has been crying about you every night since she started working here. I kept telling her that if you really loved her, you would find a way to be together. I guess I was right. Her voice showed approval and satisfaction at seeing young love triumph over obstacles. Yes, Ma, Amara said with respect and humility that surprised Mama Tund, who had expected arrogance from a rich girl. I want to work and build a new life with Folake. I know I don't have any skills yet, but I am willing to learn anything you can teach me. I will work hard and never complain about any job you give me, no matter how difficult or dirty it is. Her sincerity impressed the older woman, who had met many rich people who looked down on working with their hands. Mama Tund looked at Amara's soft hands that had never done manual labor and her expensive shoes that were now dirty from walking through poor neighborhoods. Can you cook Nigerian food? She asked, testing the girl's honesty about her abilities. No, Ma, but I can learn quickly, Amara replied, without trying to pretend she had skills she did not possess. I have watched cooks in my father's kitchen, but I have never cooked myself. I am willing to start with simple things and work my way up to more difficult recipes. Her honesty about her limitations showed maturity and realistic expectations. Can you wash dishes and clean floors and serve customers? Mama Tund continued her interview while observing Amara's reactions to these humble tasks. Yes, Ma, I can do all those things, Amara said eagerly. I may not be fast at first, but I will practice until I get better. I want to earn my place here through hard work, not through my father's money or influence. Her willingness to do menial work showed how much she had changed from the pampered rich girl she used to be. Can you handle customers who might be rude or impatient, especially if they recognize you as Chief Okafor's daughter? Yes, Ma. I will treat every customer with respect. No matter how they treat me. Mama Tund smiled with approval at these answers. Then you can work here. But I pay very small money, barely enough to rent a room and buy food. You will not have the luxury you are used to. Are you sure you can live like a poor person after being rich all your life? She wanted to make sure Amara understood what she was choosing. I don't need much money, Amara said, with absolute certainty. I just need love and respect, and honest work that makes me feel useful. I have learned that being rich does not mean being happy. I would rather have a simple life with meaning than an empty life with expensive things. Her words showed wisdom that surprised everyone, including herself. For 6 months, Amara and Folake worked at Mama's kitchen, learning the restaurant business. From the ground up, Amara learned to cook jollof rice and egusi soup and pepper soup and all the Nigerian foods she had eaten her whole life, but never prepared. Her hands became rough and calloused from washing dishes and cleaning floors, but her heart felt light as a bird flying free from its cage. She served customers with genuine kindness and gradually earned their respect when they saw she was not pretending to be humble, but really had changed from a spoiled rich girl into a hard-working woman. In the evenings they would sit outside their small rented room, sharing one bed in a building with no air conditioning, watching the sunset paint the Lagos sky in colors of gold and orange. They would talk about their dreams of opening their own restaurants someday where they could serve good food and create jobs for other hard-working people. These conversations, filled with hope and love, were worth more than all the expensive entertainment Amara had known in her father's house. Simple pleasures became precious when shared with someone who truly cared about her happiness. "Are you happy living like this, Folek?" asked one evening as they watched children playing in the street, while their mothers cooked dinner on small stoves. "Do you miss your big house and servants and expensive clothes and cars? Sometimes I worry that you will get tired of being poor and want to go back to your old life." Her insecurity sometimes made her doubt that their love could survive the challenges of poverty. "I have never been happier in my entire life," Amara replied, holding Folek's hand while they sat on plastic chairs outside their room. "When I lived in my father's house, I had everything money could buy, but I felt empty inside, like a beautiful shell with nothing living in it. Now I have very little money, but my life feels full of meaning and purpose and love. Every day I wake up excited to work and to be with you. That is worth more than all the gold in the world." Her words came from deep conviction earned through months of living simply but authentically. But happiness sometimes brings unexpected challenges that test the strength of love and commitment. One day, 6 months after Amara had run away from home, Chief Okafor appeared at the restaurant with his bodyguards like a king visiting a village. All the customers became quiet and scared when they recognized the famous billionaire. Some people quickly finished their food and left, not wanting to be involved in whatever drama was about to unfold. The atmosphere in the small restaurant changed from warm and friendly to tense and fearful as everyone waited to see what would happen. Papa Amara stood up from behind the counter where she had been cleaning glasses. She had not seen her father for 6 months and was shocked by how much older he looked. His hair had turned more gray and his face showed lines of worry and sadness. Despite everything that had happened between them, her heart still felt love for the man who had raised her, even if he had made mistakes in trying to control her life. Chief Okafor looked at his daughter in her simple work clothes and stained apron with food smells in her hair and calluses on her hands. His face showed surprise and pain as he saw what his princess had become. "Look at you," he said quietly, with emotion thick in his voice. "My beautiful daughter working like a common laborer in this tiny place. This is not the life I wanted for you. I spent millions of naira on your education and upbringing so you could live like a queen, not like a servant." His words carried disappointment, but also concern for her welfare. "I am not common, Papa, and this work is not beneath me," Amara replied, with dignity that came from months of honest labor. "I am learning to work with my hands and create something useful, and it makes me proud in ways that spending your money never did. I am serving people and making them happy with good food, and that feels more valuable than wearing expensive jewelry and attending boring parties with people who only cared about my family's wealth." Her response showed how much she had grown and changed during her months away from the golden cage of wealth. "But this is not the life I wanted for you, my daughter," Chief Okafor said, looking around the small restaurant with its plastic chairs and simple decorations. "I worked so hard to build an empire so you would never have to struggle like I did when I was young. I wanted you to marry well and live in comfort and security for the rest of your life. Instead, you chose to throw it all away for this girl who has nothing to offer you except love, which cannot pay bills or provide security when you are old." His words came from a father's concern, mixed with the businessman's practical view of life. Chief Okafor sat down at one of the small plastic tables that wobbled slightly under his weight. The contrast between his expensive suit and the humble restaurant setting was striking. "I have been thinking for 6 months since you left. Your stepmother says I should forget you and pretend I never had a daughter, but I cannot do that. You are my only child, the only family I have left from your mother. Every day I look at your empty room and wonder if you are safe and happy and eating enough food. His voice cracked with emotion as he spoke these words that revealed the depth of his love beneath his anger. Amara's eyes filled with tears as she heard the pain in her father's voice. "I missed you too, Papa, even when I was angry with you for trying to force me to marry Kemi. I know you thought you were protecting me and giving me the best life possible, but you were protecting the wrong things. You were protecting my body and my social position, but you were hurting my heart and my soul." She sat down across from him at the wobbly table, where so many working people had shared simple meals and honest conversations. "I missed you more than I can say." Chief Okafor reached across the table and touched his daughter's rough hands with surprise at how much they had changed. "Tell me honestly, my daughter, are you truly happy living like this in poverty, working for other people instead of having others work for you? Do you not miss the comfort and security and beautiful things that money can provide? Is this love really worth giving up everything you were born to inherit?" His questions came from genuine curiosity about what could make someone choose hardship over luxury. Amara looked across the room at Folake, who was watching nervously from behind the counter, ready to run if Chief Okafor became angry again. "Papa, look at my face, really look at it. When I lived in your house with all that money and luxury, did you ever see me smile the way I smile now? Did you ever see my eyes sparkle with real happiness, the way they do when I look at Folake? Money bought me beautiful clothes, but it could not buy me peace of mind. It bought me expensive food, but it could not buy me an appetite for life." Her words carried the wisdom of someone who had experienced both wealth and poverty and could compare them honestly. Chief Okafor studied his daughter's face and had to admit that despite her simple clothes and rough hands, she looked more alive and vibrant than she had in years. "You do look different," he said slowly. "There is something in your eyes that was not there before. Even when you were a child with all the toys and games money could buy, you never looked this content and peaceful. I see joy in your face that I have not seen since your mother was alive." His admission surprised even himself as he recognized the truth of her transformation. "That is because, for the first time in my life, I am living according to my own heart. Instead of other people's expectations," Amara explained with gentle patience. "When I lived in your house, I was like an actress playing a role that never felt natural. I wore the right clothes, and said the right words, and attended the right parties, but inside, I felt like I was dying slowly. Here, I work hard and live simply, but every day feels real and meaningful because I am being true to myself and to the person I love." Her explanation helped her father understand that her choice was about authenticity, not rebellion. "What are your intentions with my daughter?" Chief Okafor turned his attention to Folake, who had been standing quietly behind the counter throughout this conversation. His voice was serious but not angry as he asked this question that would determine their future. Folake walked over to their table with courage she had been building for months while working beside Amara. "Sir, I want to love her and protect her and support her dreams for the rest of my life. I know I am not rich and I cannot give her the material things you can provide, but I promise to work hard and be faithful and make her happiness my highest priority every day until I die." Her voice was steady and sincere as she made this declaration that took all her courage to speak. "You already made her happy," Chief Okafor said, looking at Amara's glowing face and remembering how miserable she had been during the weeks before her arranged marriage. "I can see it in her eyes and in the way she carries herself. She has found something with you that she never had in my house, despite all the money I spent trying to make her happy." His words showed a growing understanding of what real happiness looked like. He turned to Mama Tund, who had been watching this family drama unfold in her restaurant. "Tell me honestly, how is my daughter as a worker? Does she complain about the hard work, or demand special treatment because of who her father is? Does she treat customers and fellow workers with respect, or does she act like she is better than them?" He wanted an honest assessment from someone who had no reason to flatter him. "She is the best worker I ever had in 30 years of running this restaurant," Mama Tund said proudly without hesitation. "She never complains even when customers are rude or when the work is dirty and difficult. She treats everyone with kindness and respect whether they are rich or poor. Customers love her smile and her gentle manner. She has learned to cook almost as well as me, and she handles money honestly without ever taking even 1 naira that does not belong to her. Her endorsement was stronger than any letter of recommendation from a fancy school. Chief Okafor nodded slowly as he processed this information about his daughter's character and work ethic. Amara, I came here today, planning to drag you home and force you to marry Kemi or someone else from a wealthy family. I brought my lawyers and bodyguards, and I was prepared to use all my money and power to make you return to the life I planned for you. His honesty about his original intentions showed how much this conversation had changed his perspective. But I see something here that I lost a long time ago, he continued, with growing emotion in his voice. I see real happiness and genuine love and honest work that gives life meaning. I see the daughter I raised before money and social pressure changed our family into something cold and artificial. You have found your way back to the person you were meant to be, and I was wrong to try to force you into a mold that did not fit your heart. His words represented a complete reversal of his previous position. Chief Okafor stood up and walked to where Amara and Folek were sitting together, holding hands like two people facing a storm together. I was wrong about many things, he said with tears in his eyes that shocked everyone, including himself. I thought money was the most important thing because it had given me power and security. But you have taught me that love and authenticity and meaningful work are worth more than all the oil wells in Nigeria. I spent so much time building wealth that I forgot how to build relationships, and I nearly lost the most precious thing I had, which was your love and respect. He took both their hands in his large, weathered hands that had signed contracts worth billions of naira. I give you my blessing, he said, with the solemnity of a traditional Nigerian father giving his approval to his daughter's marriage. Not because I fully understand your choice, but because I can see that it makes you truly happy in ways my money never did. I would rather have a daughter who is poor and joyful than one who is rich and miserable. His blessing felt like sunshine, breaking through storm clouds after months of separation and conflict. Amara couldn't believe what she was hearing from the man who had disowned her 6 months earlier. Really, Papa, you mean it? She asked, with hope and disbelief mixed together in her voice. You accept my choice to be with Folek, even though she is poor, and even though people will gossip about your daughter marrying a former servant. She needed to be sure this was real, and not just a momentary change of heart. Really, my daughter. Chief Okafor smiled for the first time in months as he saw the joy spreading across Amara's face. But I have one condition that I hope you will accept, he added with a hint of his old business negotiating style returning to his voice. What condition? Papa, Amara asked, with slight worry that he might still try to control their relationship in some way. You must let me help you open your own restaurant, Chief Okafor said, with enthusiasm growing in his voice. Not because you are my daughter, but because you are good businesswomen who deserve success, and because I want to invest in something that will bring happiness instead of just profit. I have watched you both work today, and I can see that you understand how to treat customers and employees with respect. That is the foundation of any successful business. His offer came from genuine admiration for their work ethic, rather than from paternalistic charity. 6 months later, Amara and Folek opened Mother's Love restaurant in the heart of Lagos Island, near the National Theatre. It was bigger than Mama's kitchen, but still felt warm and welcoming, like a family home where everyone was invited to share a meal. The walls were painted in bright colors and decorated with traditional Nigerian art and photographs of customers celebrating special occasions. The kitchen was modern, but the food was prepared with traditional methods and family recipes that had been passed down through generations. The restaurant served traditional Nigerian food cooked with love and care and seasoned with the secret ingredient of genuine happiness. Chief Okafor was their silent partner, providing the initial capital and business advice, but the women ran everything themselves, making all the important decisions about menu and staff and customer service. He had learned that money without heart was empty, and that the best businesses were built on love and respect for customers and employees. The restaurant became famous not just for good food, but for the love story behind it, and for the way it treated every customer like family, regardless of their wealth or social position. People came from far places across Lagos and even from other Nigerian cities to eat there and see the billionaire's daughter who chose love over money. Newspapers wrote articles about their story, and radio stations interviewed them about how they built their business from nothing. But the fame never went to their heads because they remembered the lessons they learned during their months of struggle and poverty. They knew that success was not about being famous or making money, but about building something meaningful that brought joy to other people. The restaurant employed 50 people from the local community, giving jobs to young people who needed opportunities and older workers who had been rejected by other employers because of their age. They paid fair wages and treated their employees with dignity and respect, creating a workplace where people felt valued and appreciated. Amara and Folak worked alongside their employees, washing dishes and serving customers and cleaning floors because they never forgot that honest work was dignified regardless of your social position. They built a small school behind the restaurant for children from poor families who could not afford to pay school fees. The school provided free education and meals and uniforms because Amara and Folak remembered what it felt like to struggle and wanted to help other people improve their lives through education. They sponsored scholarships for bright students like Folak once was, giving them opportunities to attend universities and pursue careers that would lift their families out of poverty. On their wedding day, 2 years after opening the restaurant, the whole community celebrated their love story that had inspired so many people. Rich and poor people danced together under the same white tent that covered half the street in front of the restaurant. Traditional drummers played while modern musicians sang love songs, and children ran between the tables, carrying flowers and laughing with joy. The celebration lasted from sunrise to sunset, with enough food to feed everyone who came, including many people who had never been invited to a wealthy person's party before. Mama Tund cooked the wedding feast with help from the restaurant staff, creating dishes that represented every region of Nigeria. The aroma of jollof, rice and pepper soup, and pounded yam and egusi stew filled the air for blocks around the restaurant. Wedding guests included everyone from government ministers to market traders to street children who had found jobs and hope. Through the opportunities created by the restaurant and school, it was a celebration that brought together people who would never normally share the same space, creating unity through the power of love and good food. Chief Okafor walked both brides down the aisle with tears of pride streaming down his face. He had initially struggled with the idea of his daughter marrying another woman because it challenged everything he had been taught about traditional marriage. But over 2 years of watching their relationship grow stronger through challenges and successes, he had come to understand that love was love, regardless of the gender of the people involved. Their commitment to each other and to their community had earned his complete respect and admiration. "I am proud of you, my daughters," Chief Okafor whispered to both of them as they approached the altar decorated with white roses like the ones from Amara's childhood garden. "You taught an old man that the heart knows better than the head when it comes to matters of love and happiness. I spent my whole life chasing money and power, but you showed me that the real treasure was right in front of me all along, in the form of family and love and community service." His words carried the wisdom of someone who had learned important lessons late in life, but was grateful for the opportunity to change. As Amara and Folak exchanged vows under the afternoon sun, with hundreds of friends and family members as witnesses, Amara remembered her mother's white roses and felt her mother's spirit blessing their union. The pastor who performed the ceremony was progressive and spoke about love as a gift from God that should be celebrated regardless of the form it takes. His words brought comfort to people in the crowd who had struggled with accepting this unconventional love story. "Do you, Amara, take Folak to be your wife in sickness and health, in poverty and wealth, for better or worse, until death do you part?" The pastor asked with dignity that elevated the ceremony above gossip and made it feel sacred. "Do with all my heart," Amara said, with tears of joy streaming down her face. "She is my heart and my home, and my partner in everything that matters. I promise to love her and support her dreams and face every challenge by her side for as long as I live." Her vows were simple but sincere, carrying the weight of someone who had sacrificed everything to be standing at this altar. Do you, Folake? Take Amara to be your wife in sickness and health, in poverty and wealth, for better or worse, until death do you part. I do, completely and forever. Folake replied with her voice strong and clear despite her tears. She is my sunshine and my future. And my best friend. I promise to love her and encourage her and build a beautiful life, together filled with joy and purpose and service to our community. Her vows reflected the journey they had traveled from servant and mistress to equal partners in love and business. The crowd cheered and ululated with joy as they kissed for the first time as married women. Children threw flower petals while musicians played celebration songs, and everyone danced in the streets around the restaurant. That had become the center of their community. The celebration continued long into the night with storytelling and music and enough food for everyone who wanted to join the happiness. Today, 5 years after their wedding, their restaurant employs over 100 people and has expanded to include a catering service that provides jobs for women who need flexible work schedules. They opened a second location in Abuja and are planning a third in Port Harcourt, spreading their model of business built on love and community service. The school behind the restaurant now serves 300 children and has graduated dozens of students who went on to universities and successful careers that are lifting entire families out of poverty. Chief Okafor visits every Sunday for dinner and helps serve food to customers with the enthusiasm of someone who has found purpose beyond making money. He tells everyone who will listen how proud he is of his daughters and how they taught him that the best investment he ever made was in their happiness rather than in their obedience. He established a foundation that provides microloans to women, starting small businesses because he learned that empowering people to create their own success was more valuable than giving charity that created dependence. Money can buy many things, he often tells customers and business associates, but it cannot buy the peace I see in my daughter's eyes every day. It cannot buy the satisfaction that comes from work that serves others. It cannot buy the deep joy that comes from living authentically, according to your heart's truth, rather than society's expectations. His transformation from money-focused businessman to community-minded philanthropist has inspired other wealthy people to examine their own priorities. And Josie eventually learned to accept Amara's choice and even helps with the restaurant's accounting and marketing because she discovered she had talents that had been overlooked. When she was just focused on being a rich man's wife, I was wrong about many things, she admitted during a family dinner one Sunday evening. But I was most wrong about what makes a person valuable and what creates lasting happiness. I thought money and social position were everything, but you showed me that character and love and service to others matter more. Her growth surprised everyone, including herself. Every evening after closing the restaurant, Amara and Folake sit in their small garden behind their modest house that they own debt-free through their hard work and careful saving. They grow white roses like the ones Amara's mother loved and vegetables that they use in the restaurant, connecting their business success to the earth and to the cycle of growth and harvest that sustains all life. Their garden is simple but beautiful, with flowers and herbs and fruit trees that provide both beauty and practical value. Are you happy? Folake still asks, sometimes as they watch the sunset paint the Lagos sky in brilliant colors while children play in nearby streets and the sounds of evening prayers drift from local mosques and churches. I chose love over gold and found treasure beyond measure, Amara always replies as she holds the hand of the woman who taught her that wealth is not about what you own, but about who you love and how you serve others. Every day, I wake up grateful for the courage you gave me to follow my heart instead of other people's plans for my life. We built something beautiful together that brings joy to hundreds of people every day, and that is worth more than all the oil wells in Nigeria. Their love story teaches everyone who hears it that the heart knows what makes us truly rich, and that sometimes the greatest wealth comes from having someone who loves you exactly as you are, not for what you can provide, but for who you choose to be. Sometimes, the most valuable treasure is the courage to choose authenticity over approval, love over luxury, and purpose over profit. And somewhere in heaven, Amara's mother smiles, knowing her daughter finally learned the most important lesson of all, that love is the only currency that never loses its value, and that a life lived in service to others is the richest life of all.